Did it work? Did it work? I think it worked. I always ask that. I'm like, oh, what? My life? Is it working? Huh? What? Okay. So I'm gonna do a tie tonight. It's time for my flex of the year. If I remember how to do this. Oh dear. Okay. No. No. Okay. Okay, wait. Is the short part? Is the short part longer? That doesn't make any sense. Because that would... Let's try that. Let's try that. Let's see if that works. Oh. Okay. And then that would be... No. But that would also be... So it must start with the long end. Okay. This is this is absolutely the most interesting thing that is going to happen all stream. Okay. That doesn't seem right either. Did I have it? Now hold on. Wait. So, like... No. No. So I'm fairly certain... We start with the big end. I think I had it right before. And then you do... What? Okay. Or maybe I don't have to wear a tie. I mean... Did I practice this for like a week? Maybe. Am I incredibly confused? Maybe. Okay, okay. Okay, wait. Oh. Oh, 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 I did it. No, wait. Should I have done this before the stream started? Maybe. That doesn't... Okay, so that kind of looks right. This is... Okay. That's backwards. We're gonna go with that. That's... Oh, I forgot. Microphone. That's what we're gonna go with. Okay. And no. Down goes the collar. Okay. I don't think that's. I don't think. Oh well. We're gonna go with that. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that's not how it works. But we're gonna go with that. We're gonna go with that. Can I cover this up with the suit? Maybe. I can. Welcome to the nightly news with me. Okay. So I'll say this again when it hits 8 o'clock, and the stream actually, like the story me reading actually starts. But unfortunately, I completely forgot to upload chapter 9, and when I came back, it was gone. Somebody had gotten rid of it. So we're gonna have to do chapter 9 all over again. So luckily the water land, the grid is entirely surrounded by water. That's one of the better stories. It might be the best story. I don't know. Am I gonna do? Oh, ooh. I should do something special after the end of all these books. I could review them. I could do something special. Uh, maybe I'll do a tier list. I could do a tier list of all the stories. That'd be interesting. I could end up doing that. Although I need to figure out how to screen share. Because I don't know. So this is the mute button. That means I'm muted. Got it. How do I... It still says this is a gaming video. This is not a gaming video. Captions. Maybe you need to select screen sharing before the stream starts. I don't know. Oh, everything disappeared. All right, there we go. I'm not gonna have a repeat of last time where I turn off the monitor and have to restart the entire stream. That was awful. I'm not gonna do that again. Luckily that happened before 8 last week, so I caught it before something like that happened, like during the actual reading. If I go to my channel, maybe I can mess with the settings. Customize channel? Can I add monetization? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I need 1,000 to do monetization. Channel copyright. Do, 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 do. It does not. Nope, that's not what I meant to do. It does not appear. It does not appear that I can. Okay, that is going right now. View in live control room. Oh. Oh. Whoa. It's oh, that's kind of weird. I can see it in the other stream or in the other window, and it's a bit off. It's off by like 1 second, 1 or 2 seconds. Stream settings. Enable DVR. We're yes, we're gonna watch the Diamond Edition of Aladdin instead of reading Winnie the Pooh. That makes sense. That is something that would happen. Backup server. Oh man, this is all confusing. 2 people are watching. Oh, now 1 person is watching. Well, we haven't started yet, so there's still time. Tell your friends or whatever. Interesting. That doesn't manage webcam. So I'm on the webcam right there. If I click on it again, is it going to open? Oh, I'm going to have to start that again. Okay. I need to type in the... What? This is so... Okay. I'm going to look it up. How to add donations to live stream. I wasn't done talking. Not to my Twitch channel. I don't have a Twitch channel. Ironically, this is a YouTube video about how to add donations to your Twitch, which confuses me. To YouTube, not Turbine. How to add donate button. Add your scheduled live stream to your fundraiser. Learn how to set up a YouTube giving fundraiser? Live stream with live chat will have the donate icon in the chat. Interesting. And then there's several Reddit posts asking how that works. Okay, interesting. So, I will figure that out in due time. Customize. Options. Delete forever. where in this does it say, here's where I could share screens? Because if I'm going to do something like a tier list of sorts for the end, I'd like to be able to figure out. You probably need to. Actually, I'm just going to look that up again. I'm just going to look that up too. Oh, it is 8:01. It is 8:01. So, we're going to start in like just a minute. How to share screen on live stream YouTube. You can share your screen using its screen sharing feature. Yes. Thank you, Quora. That was very helpful. YouTube live streaming with your webcam does not let you screen share. I wonder if you need to start out by screen sharing. You can't switch between. I don't know why that would be, because I don't know why. I mean, many of the things YouTube does are beyond me, but I don't understand that one. Anyway, we're gonna get started. As I said before, we have to redo Chapter 9 because I forgot to upload it to the website, and then it disappeared suddenly. I think somebody deleted it when they got on the computer. So we're going to redo Chapter 9. Luckily, this is possibly the best, one of the best chapters in the Winnie the Pooh collection, which leads me to think I could do something like at the end of finishing Winnie the Pooh, and at the end of finishing all the books that I do, I could do something. I could do like a special episode at the end of all of those, and that could also work if I only had like one chapter left or two chapters left, because it's hard to plan out how long they go and how many I can do in a stream. So if I only had like one or two chapters left, I could spend the rest of the time making a tier list of all of the chapters of Winnie the Pooh, or something really stupid like that, just to kill time, just to do something fun. Okay, but we're gonna redo Chapter 9. So here we go. Test. Wow, that works really good. There's like blue snowball. I've had this for years. Somehow it still works fairly well. Okay, I might have to go grab like some water or something, because I still have my dry throat from last week. So I may have coughing fits or something, but I am, suffice to say, I am very looking forward to going and getting apple cider or something in an hour. All right, let's begin. Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne. Chapter 9, in which Piglet is entirely surrounded by water. It rained, and it rained, and it rained. Piglet told himself that never in all his life, and he was goodness knows how old, 3 was it or 4? Never had he seen so much rain. Days and days and days. If only, he thought as he looked out of the window,
I had been in Pooh's house, or Christopher Robin's house, or Rabbit's house when it began to rain. Then I should have had company all this time, instead of being here all alone with nothing to do except wonder when it will stop.
And he imagines himself with Pooh saying,
Did you ever see such rain, Pooh?
And Pooh saying, Isn't it awful, Piglet? And Piglet saying,
I wonder how it is over Christopher Robin's way.
And Pooh saying, I should think poor old Rabbit is about flooded out by this time. It would have been jolly to talk like this, and really it wasn't much good having anything exciting like floods if you couldn't share them with somebody. For it was rather exciting. The little dry ditches in which Piglet had nosed about so often had become streams. The little streams across which he had splashed were rivers, and the river, between whose steep banks they had played so happily, had sprawled out of its own bed and was taking up so much room everywhere that Piglet was beginning to wonder whether it would be coming into his bed soon.
It's a little anxious, he said to himself, to be a very small animal entirely surrounded by water. Christopher Robin and Pooh could escape by climbing trees, and Kanga could escape by jumping, and Rabbit could escape by burrowing, and Owl could escape by flying, and Eeyore could escape by making a loud noise until rescued. And here am I, surrounded by water, and I can't do anything.
It went on raining, and every day the water got a little higher, until now it was nearly up to Piglet's window, and still he hadn't done anything.
There's Pooh,
he thought to himself.
Pooh hasn't much brain, but he never comes to any harm. He does silly things and they turn out right. There's Owl. Owl hasn't exactly got brain, but he knows things. He would know the right thing to do when surrounded by water. There's Rabbit. He hasn't learnt in books, but he can always think of a clever plan. There's Kanga. She isn't clever, Kanga isn't, but she would be so anxious about Roo that she would do a good thing to do without thinking about it. And then there's Eeyore, and Eeyore is so miserable anyhow that he wouldn't mind about this. But I wonder what Christopher Robin would do.
Then suddenly he remembered a story which Christopher Robin had told him about a man on a desert island who had written something in a bottle and thrown it into the sea. And Piglet thought that if he wrote something in a bottle and threw it into the water, perhaps someone would come and rescue him. He left the window and began to search his house, all of it that wasn't underwater. And at last he found a pencil and a small piece of dry paper and a bottle with a cork in it. And he wrote on one side of the paper,
Help, Piglet, me.
And on the other side,
It's me, Piglet, help, help.
Then he put the paper in the bottle, and he corked the bottle up as tightly as he could, and he leant out the window as far as he could lean without falling in, and he threw the bottle as far as he could throw. Splash! And in a little while it bobbed up again on the water, and he watched it floating slowly away in the distance, until his eyes ached with looking. And sometimes he thought it was the bottle, and sometimes he thought it was just a ripple on the water, which he was following, and then suddenly he knew that he would never see it again, and that he had done all that he could do to save himself.
So now, he thought, somebody else will have to do something, and I hope they will do it soon. Because if they don't, I will have to swim, which I can't. So I hope they do it soon.
And he gave a very long sigh and said,
I wish Pooh were here. It's so much more friendly with two.
When the rain began, Pooh was asleep. It rained and it rained and it rained. And he slept and he slept and he slept. He had had a tiring day. You remember how he discovered the North Pole. Well, he was so proud of this that he asked Christopher Robin if there were any other poles, such as a bear of little brain might discover.
There's a South Pole, said Christopher Robin, and I expect there's an East Pole and a West Pole, though people don't like talking about them.
Pooh was very excited when he heard this, and suggested that they have an expedition to discover the East Pole. But Christopher Robin had thought of something else to do with Kanga, so Pooh went out to discover the East Pole by himself. Whether he discovered it or not, I forget, but he was so tired when he got home that, in the very middle of his supper, after he had been eating for little more than half an hour, he fell fast asleep in his chair, and slept and slept and slept. Then suddenly he was dreaming. He was at the East Pole, and it was a very cold pole with the coldest sort of snow and ice all over it. He had found a beehive to sleep in, but there wasn't room for his legs, so he left them outside. And wild woozles, such as inhabit the East Pole, came and nibbled all the fur off his legs to make nests for their young. And the more they nibbled, the colder his legs got, until suddenly he woke up with an ow! And there he was, sitting with his chair, with his feet in the water, and water all around him. He splashed to the door and looked out. "This is serious," said Pooh. "I must have an escape." So he took his largest pot of honey and escaped with it to a broad branch of his tree well above the water. And then he climbed down again and escaped with another pot. And when the whole escape was finished, there was Pooh, sitting on his branch, dangling his legs, and there beside him were 10 pots of honey. 2 days later, there was Pooh, sitting on his branch, dangling his legs, and there beside him were 4 pots of honey. 3 days later, there was Pooh, sitting on his branch, dangling his legs, and there beside him was 1 pot of honey. 4 days later, there was Pooh, and it was on the morning of the 4th day that Piglet's bottle came floating back past him. And with one loud cry of "Honey!" Pooh plunged into the water, seized the bottle, and struggled back to his tree again. "Bother," said Pooh as he opened it. "All that wet for nothing. What's that bit of paper doing?" He took it out and looked at it. "It's a message," he said to himself. "That's what it is. And that letter is a P, and so is that, and so is that. And P means Pooh. So it's a very important message for me. But I can't read it. I must find Christopher Robin or Owl or Piglet or one of those clever readers who can read things, and they will tell me what this message means. Only I can't swim. Bother." Then he had an idea, and I think, for a very little brain, it was a good idea. He said to himself, "If a bottle can float, then a jar can float, and if a jar floats, I can sit on the top of it, if it's a very big jar." So he took his biggest jar and corked it up. "All boats have to have a name," he said, "so I shall call mine the Floating Bear." And with these words, he dropped his boat into the water and jumped in after it. For a little while, Pooh and the Floating Bear were uncertain as to which of them was meant to be on the top. But after trying 1 or 2 different positions, they settled down with the Floating Bear underneath, and Pooh triumphantly astride it, paddling vigorously with his feet. Christopher Robin lived at the very top of the forest. It rained and it rained and it rained, but the water couldn't come to his house. It was rather jolly to see the dang it. I was just thinking to myself, oh man, I can get this done in 1 take. I'm not gonna have to stop at any point. And then I mess it up. It was rather jolly to see. Yeah, I'll just get rid of that section. Start over at the top of 138. Oh! I have to get situated. It was rather jolly to look down into the valleys and see the water all around him, but it rained so hard that he stayed indoors most of the time and thought about things. Every morning he went out with his umbrella and put a stick in the place where the water came up to. And every next morning he went out and couldn't see a stick anymore, so he put another stick in the place where the water came up to. And then he walked home again. And each morning he had a shorter way to walk than he had the day before. On the morning of the 5th day, he saw the water all around him and knew that for the first time in his life, he was on a real island, which was very exciting. It was on this morning that Owl came flying over the water to say, "How do you do?" to his friend Christopher Robin. "I say, Owl," said Christopher Robin, "isn't this fun? I'm on an island." "Ooh, the atmospheric conditions have been very unfavorable lately," said Owl. "The what?" "It has been raining," explained Owl. Yes, said Christopher Robin, it has. The flood level has reached an unprecedented height. The who? There's a lot of water about, explained Al. Yes, said Christopher Robin, there is. However, the prospects are rapidly becoming more favorable. At any moment, have you seen Pooh? No. At any moment, I hope he's all right, said Christopher Robin. I've been wondering about him. I expect Piglets with him. Do you think they're all right, Al? I expect so. You see, at any moment, do go and see Al, because Pooh hasn't got very much brain, and he might do something silly, and I do love him so, Al. Do you see Al? That's all right, said Al. I'll go back directly. And he flew off. In a little while he was back. Pooh isn't there, he said. Not there. He's beaten there. He's been sitting on a branch of his tree outside his house with 9 pots of honey. But he isn't there now. Oh, Pooh, cried Christopher Robin, where are you? Here I am, said a growling voice behind him. Pooh! They rushed into each other's arms. How did you get here, Pooh? Asked Christopher Robin when he was ready to talk again. On my boat, said Pooh proudly. I had a very important message sent me in a bottle, and owing to having got some water in my eyes, I couldn't read it. So I brought it to you, on my boat. With these proud words, he gave Christopher Robin the message. But it's from Piglet, cried Christopher Robin when he had read it. Isn't there anything about Pooh in it? Said Bear, looking over his shoulder. Christopher Robin read the message out loud. Oh, are those Piglets? I thought they were Pooh's. We must rescue him at once. I thought he was with you, Pooh. Al, could you rescue him on your back? Oh, I don't think so, said Al, after grave thought. It is doubtful if the necessary dorsal muscles. Then when you fly to him at once and say that rescue is coming, and Pooh and I will think of his rescue and come as quick as ever we can. Oh, don't talk, Al, go on quick. And still thinking of something to say, Al flew off. Now then, Pooh, said Christopher Robin, where's your boat? I ought to say, explained Pooh as they walked down to the shore of the island, that it is just an ordinary sort of boat. Sometimes it's a boat, and sometimes it's more of an accident. It all depends. Depends on what? On whether I'm on the top of it or underneath it. Oh, well, where is it? There, said Pooh, pointing proudly to the floating bear. It wasn't what Christopher Robin expected, and the more he looked at it, the more he thought what a brave and clever bear Pooh was, and the more Christopher Robin thought this, the more Pooh looked modestly down his nose and tried to pretend he wasn't. But it's too small for 2 of us, said Christopher Robin sadly. 3 of us with Piglet. That makes it smaller still. Oh, Pooh Bear, what shall we do? And then, this bear, Pooh Bear, Winnie the Pooh, FOP, brand of piglets, RC, Rabbit's Companion, PD, Pole Discoverer, EC, and TF, Eeyore's Comforter and Tail Fighter. In fact, Pooh himself said something so clever that Christopher Robin could only look at him with mouth open and eyes staring, wondering if this was really the bear of very little brain whom he had known and loved for so long. We might go in your umbrella, said Pooh. What? We might go in your umbrella, said Pooh. Huh? We might go in your umbrella, said Pooh. And then suddenly Christopher Robin saw that they might. He opened his umbrella and put it point downwards in the water. It floated, but wobbled. Pooh got in. He was just beginning to say that it was all right now, when he found that it wasn't. And after a short drink, which he didn't really want, he waded back to Christopher Robin. Then they both got in together, and it wobbled no longer. I shall call this boat the Brain of Pooh, said Christopher Robin. And the Brain of Pooh set sail forthwith in a southwesterly direction, revolving gracefully. You can imagine Piglet's joy when at last the ship came in sight of him. In after years he liked to think that he had been in very grave danger during the terrible flood. The only danger he had really been in was in the last half hour of his imprisonment, when Owl, who had just flown up, sat on a branch of his tree to comfort him, and told him a very long story about an ant who had once laid a seagull's egg by mistake. And the story went on, rather like this sentence, until Piglet, who was listening out of his window without much hope, went to sleep quietly and naturally, slipping slowly out of the window towards the water until he was only hanging on by his toes, at which moment, luckily, a loud sudden squawk from Owl, which was really part of the story, being what his aunt said, woke the Piglet up, and just gave him time to jerk himself back into safety and say, "How interesting, and did she?" When, well, you can imagine his joy when at last he saw the good ship, the Brain of Pooh, Captain C. Robin, First Mate P. Bear, coming over the sea to rescue him. And as that is really the end of the story, and I'm very tired after that last sentence, I think I shall stop there. Here ends Winnie the Pooh by A. Mountain. Every time I do that outro, I'm like, is that the same outro I did last time? I bet I will look back at these in like a week, like weeks or something, like months, and it'll just end up being like completely different every time. Like like there's no continuity at all. Like the intros and outros are totally different. I messed up all the voices. That'd be really funny. Chapter 9. Now, come to think of it, as I was doing that last part, I don't think I actually finished Chapter 9. So it kind of is good that I had to start that over. Okay, and we're just gonna wait for that to finish. Oh boy. I almost pulled an all-nighter last night, so I'm incredibly tired. I actually almost fell asleep watching YouTube not 45 minutes ago. So we're gonna see how long I make it through this. Save. Closing. Yes. Save project. I just saved it though. Please don't delete this again. Okay, it says Chapter 9 is here. So delete it. Well, I'm gonna get rid of the Audacity thing. But it says I saved it. So I think we're good. Okay. Now, let's just add that in there. Ooh. Oh boy. Oh wait, I have to upload the... No, go back. I have to upload the track because it resets all the changes I made to that if I don't upload the track first. I'm not entirely sure why. That doesn't really make any sense, but whatever. Okay, that is uploading. There was a significant decrease in the amount of people that saw last week's. It might have been that I advertised the first stream on Instagram, because I had like 41 views on the first stream, and last week's stream I had like, I want to say 7 or 8, which is not as much. That is significantly less. So all right, so we put in the thumbnail. So make that change. Get on that. Tell all your friends about me making a fool of myself on YouTube and reading aloud Winnie the freaking Pooh. That's gonna be my entire resume. I read random books on the internet. And they're like, "You're hired." No, I don't know. I don't know how colleges work. It's probably not how that works. Actually, that probably doesn't bode well if I don't even know how that works. I'll just be doing this for the rest of my life. I don't actually. I need 900 more, 920-ish more subscribers until I can get ad revenue or money from this. Okay. 14 minutes. Yeah, the later episodes are significantly longer than. Okay, it is now published. If you want, you can go check that out. I can't see in the editor if people actually go and check out the website, but it's there. if and you feel like it. Now, to my knowledge, a couple people joined in for the second hour. So hopefully we have a half an hour more, and then after the break, hopefully a couple more people jump in. All right, chapter 10. This is the last part of the first half. After Winnie the Pooh is the house at Pooh Corner. So essentially, I'm assuming that's like the sequel, because it kind of wraps up very nicely in chapter 10. But I'm going to refer to, because this is the complete edition, I'm going to refer to the latter half in the website as, and the saved things as chapters 11 through 20. So hopefully that's not too confusing. Test, blah, blah, blah. Test. So even when I'm like barely talking, it picks me up like I can hear myself, which is really good. Seeing how this is like a not new microphone. Okay, let's give this a try. Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne. Chapter 10, in which Christopher Robin gives Pooh a party, and we say goodbye. One day, when the sun had come back over the forest, bringing with it the scent of May, and all the streams of the forest were tinkling happy to find themselves their own pretty shape again, and the little pools lay dreaming of the life they had seen and the big things they had done, and in the warmth and quiet of the forest, the cuckoo was trying over his voice carefully and listening to see if he liked it. And wood pigeons were complaining gently to themselves, in their lazy, comfortable way, that it was the other fellow's fault, but it didn't matter very much. On such a day as this, Christopher Robin whistled in the special way he had. An owl came flying out of the 100-acre wood to see what was wanted. Owl, said Christopher Robin. Oh my goodness, that was an incredible spike. We're going to try that again. Okay. Ow, said Christopher Robin. I'm going to give a party. You are you? Yes, and it's going to be a special sort of party, because it's a special sort of party. Yes. I can already tell this chapter is going to need a couple takes. Yes, and it's going to be a special sort of party, because it's because of what Pooh did when he did what he did to save Piglet from the flood. Oh, so that's what it's for, is it? Said Owl. Yes, so will you tell Pooh as quickly as ever you can, and all the others, because it will be tomorrow. Oh, it will it? Said Owl, still being as helpful as possible. So will you go and tell them, Owl? Owl tried to think of something very wise to say, but couldn't. And, oh dear, I lost my place. This already has 1, 2, 3, 3 takes. Oh no, this is the 4th take for this. But couldn't. Okay. So he flew off to tell the others, and the first person he met was Pooh. "Pooh," he said, "Christopher Robin is giving a party." "Oh," said Pooh, and then seeing that Owl expected him to say something else, he said, "Will there be those little cake things with pink sugar icing?" Owl felt that it was rather beneath him to talk about little cake things with pink sugar icing, so he told Pooh exactly what Christopher Robin had said and flew off to Eeyore. "Party? For me?" thought Pooh to himself. "How grand!" And he began to wonder if all the other animals would know that it was a special Pooh party, and if Christopher Robin had told them about the floating bear and the brain of Pooh and all the wonderful ships he had invented and sailed on. And he began to think how awful it would be if everyone had forgotten about it and nobody quite knew what this party was for. And the more he thought like this, the more it got muddled in his mind, like a dream where nothing goes right. And the dream began to sing itself over in his head until it became a sort of song. It was an anxious Pooh song. 3 cheers for Pooh. For who? For Pooh. Why, what did he do? I thought you knew. He saved his friend from a wedding. 3 cheers for Bear. For where? For Bear. He couldn't swim, but he rescued him. He rescued who? Oh, listen, do. I'm talking of Pooh. Of who? Of Pooh. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. Well, Pooh was a bear of enormous brain. Just say it again. Of enormous brain. Of enormous what? Well, he ate a lot. And I don't know if he could swim or not. But he managed to float on a sort of boat. On a sort of what? Well, a sort of pot. So now let's give him 3 hearty cheers. So now let's give him 3 hearty witches, and hope he'll be with us for years and years, and grow in health and wisdom and riches. 3 cheers for Pooh. For who? For Pooh. 3 cheers for Bear. For where? For Bear. 3 cheers for the wonderful Winnie the Pooh. Just tell me, somebody, what did he do? While this was going on inside him, Owl was talking to Eeyore. "Eeyore," said Owl, "Christopher Robin is giving a party." "Very interesting," said Eeyore. "I suppose they will be sending me down the odd bits which got trodden on. Kind and thoughtful, not at all. Don't mention it. There's an invitation for you." "What's that like?" "An invitation." "Yes, I heard you. Who dropped it?" "This isn't anything to eat. It's asking you to the party. Tomorrow." Eeyore shook his head slowly. "You mean Piglet. The little fellow with the excited ears. That's Piglet." "I'll tell him." "No, no," said Owl, getting quite fussy. "It's you." "Are you sure?" Of course I'm sure. Christopher Robin said all of them. Tell all of them. All of them except Eeyore. All of them," said Eeyore huskily. "Owl said that. Gosh dang it." Said Eeyore. I suppose Eeyore could have said that if he was talking to himself. And that's a little weird. All of them. My voice sounds weird. Said Owl huskily. "Oh," said Eeyore. "A mistake, no doubt. But still, I shall come. Only don't blame me if it rains." But it didn't rain. Christopher Robin had made a long table out of some long pieces of wood, and they all sat around it. Christopher Robin sat at one end and Pooh sat at the other, and between them on one side were Owl and Eeyore and Piglet, and between them on the other side were Rabbit and Roo and Kanga. And all Rabbit's friends and relations spread themselves about on the grass and waited hopefully in case anyone spoke to them, or dropped anything, or asked them the time. It was the first party to which Roo had ever been, and he was very excited. As soon as ever they had sat down, he began to talk.
"Hello, Pooh,"
He squeaked. Hello, Roo, said Pooh. Roo jumped up and down in his seat for a little while and then began again. Hello, Piglet, he squeaked. Piglet waved a paw at him, being too busy to say anything.
"Hello, Eeyore,"
said Roo. Eeyore nodded gloomily at him. It will rain soon. You see if it don't, he said. Roo looked to see if it didn't, and it didn't. So he said, Hello, Owl! And Owl said, Hello, Roo, my little fellow, in a kindly way, and went on telling Christopher Robin about an accident which had nearly happened to a friend of his, whom Christopher Robin didn't know. And Kangas said to Roo, Drink up your milk first, dear, and talk afterwards. So Roo, who was drinking his milk, tried to say that he could do both at once, and had to be patted on the back and dried for quite a long time afterwards. When they had all nearly finished eating enough, Christopher Robin banged on the table with his spoon, and everybody stopped talking and was very silent, except Eeyore. Except Roo.
What? Why do you keep saying Eeyore?
Except Eeyore. The plot twist is that Eeyore is just everyone. Except Roo, who was just finishing a loud attack of hiccups and trying to look as if it was one of Rabbit's relations. This party, said Christopher Robin, is a party because of what someone did. And we all know who it was, and it's his party because of what he did. And I've got a present for him, and here it is. Then he felt about a little and whispered, Where is it? While he was looking, Eeyore coughed in an impressive way and began to speak. Friends, he said, including oddments, it is a great pleasure, or perhaps I had better say it has been a pleasure so far, to see you at my party. What I did was nothing. Any of you, except Rabbit and Owl and Kenya, would have done the same. Oh, and Pooh. My remarks do not, of course, apply to Piglet and Roo because they are too small. Any of you would have done the same, but it just happened to be me. It was not, I need hardly say, with an idea of getting what Christopher Robin is looking for now, and he put his front leg to his mouth and said in a loud whisper, Try under the table! That I did what I did, but because I feel that we should all do what we can to help. I feel that we should all... said Roo accidentally. Roo, dear, said Kangaroo reproachfully. It wasn't me, asked Roo, a little surprised. What's Eeyore talking about? Piglet whispered to Pooh. I don't know, said Pooh. I thought this was your party. I thought it was once, but I suppose it isn't. I'd sooner it was yours than Eeyore's, said Piglet. So would I, said Pooh. Said Roo again. As I was saying, said Eeyore loudly and sternly. As I was saying, when I was interrupted by various loud noises. I feel that... Here it is, cried Christopher Robin excitedly. Pass it down to silly old Pooh. It's for Pooh. For Pooh? Said Eeyore. Of course it is. The best bear in all the world. I might have known, said Eeyore. After all, one can't complain. I have my friends. Someone spoke to me only yesterday. And it was last week or the week before that Rabbit bumped into me and said, Bother. The social round. Always something going on. But nobody was listening, for they were all saying, Open it, Pooh! What is it, Pooh? I know what it is. No, you don't, and other helpful remarks of this sort. And of course Pooh was opening it as quickly as ever he could, but without cutting the string, because you never know when a bit of string might come in handy. At last, it was undone. When Pooh saw what it was, he nearly fell down. He was so pleased. It was a special pencil case. There were pencils in it marked B for bear, and pencils marked HB for helping bear, and pencils marked BB for brave bear. There was a knife for sharpening the pencils, an India rubber for rubbing out anything which you had spelt wrong, and a ruler for marking out the ruler in case you wanted to know how many inches anything was. And blue pencils, and red pencils, and green pencils for saying special things in blue and red and green. And all of these lovely things were in little pockets of their own in a special case which shut with a click when you clicked it. And they were all for Pooh. Oh, said Pooh. Oh, Pooh, said everybody else except Eeyore. Thank you, said Pooh. But Eeyore was saying to himself, this writing business, pencils and whatnot. Overrated, if you ask me. Silly stuff. Nothing in it. Later on, when they had all said goodbye and thank you to Christopher Robin, Pooh and Piglet walked home thoughtfully in the golden evening, and for a long time they were silent.
When you wake up in the morning, Pooh,
said Piglet at last,
what's the first thing you say to yourself?
What's for breakfast? Said Pooh. What do you say, Piglet?
I say, I wonder what's going to happen exciting today,
said Piglet. Pooh nodded thoughtfully. It's the same thing, he said. And what did happen? Asked Christopher Robin. When? Next morning. I don't know. Could you think and tell me and Pooh sometime? If you wanted it very much. Who does? Said Christopher Robin. He gave a deep sigh, picked his bear up by the leg, and walked off to the door, trailing Winnie the Pooh behind him. At the door he turned and said, Coming to see me out my bath? I might, I said. Was Pooh's pencil case any better than mine? It was just about the same, I said. He nodded and went out, and in a moment I heard Winnie the Pooh bump, 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 going up the stairs behind him. Here ends Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Bennett. Oh, darn. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, just because that's not the end of the book. Let me just... Chapter 10. Okay, there we go. Alright, Chapter 10. Wahoo! Okay, we're almost at the hour mark, and I think when the hour mark hits, I'll be taking the intermission then. $11. So that's not nearly as long. Oh my goodness, this tie looks awful. I'm just going to take this off. That was not how you're supposed to. Oh dear. Breaking news. Man is strangled in his own tie. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised. There we go. I think it looks cool if I'm not wearing a tie. Okay. Okay, and then we upload chapter 10. 12.3 megabytes. 1, 2, 3. But yeah, I will say again, if you guys would like me to read anything specifically in the public domain in the future, I can check if that is in the public domain, and if so, I will most likely read it. Unless it's something, I'm not going to say dumb, but I don't wish to read strange things like, what's a good example? Alice in Wonderland, or say Wizard of Oz. I'm not. They are classics, but I'm not particularly fond of them, since it's a fine line between being dumb but still having a coherent story, and not having almost any story at all, and just making almost no sense. Like there is somewhat of a coherent story for the first Wizard of Oz, but all of the other ones made no sense to me. That might just be me, but I am not particularly fond of those. Okay. Winnie the Pooh, Chapter 32, in which Carver is strangled by his tie after attempting to tie it for 6 minutes straight, which I probably should have done beforehand, to be honest. But I mean, okay, I will be right back. It is intermission. Oh, you know what would be the best? It would be so great if I could figure out how to do the Monty Python intermission while I was going and getting apple cider or something. That'd be so awesome. All right, I will be right back. All right, I've returned. War and Peace in the original. Oh no! Oh man. Now, I can read Spanish convincingly, I think. Russian, I do not know about that. I could give it a try. It might not. It might not make any sense. Probably even to Russians. War and Peace in Spanish. Yeah, there you go. And that will take me a total of what? 30 years? Though that's not even the longest book ever. There's some Indian book where this guy decided to write a chapter every day for like the rest of his life or something. Okay. Longest books ever. Right. The Ven Marazu, I think I'm saying that right, is a novel. It's a re-narration of the Indian classic Mahabharata. It is the most ambitious work to date. He started in January 2011, and he's been writing a chapter a day ever since. It's still going on. It has 22,400 pages and 26 volumes. Where is... So most of the... Okay, Les Mis is pretty high up here at 1,400 pages. War and Peace is 1,440. Wait. Les Mis is 1,462. War and Peace is 1,440. Okay. So War and Peace is... I actually read all of Les Mis. So I guess I've passed up that level. Huh. But I don't know if that really counts. The crazy like 22,000 page long volume book thing. Because it's kind of like he keeps updating it with more volumes, and so that doesn't necessarily mean it's all one book. Like he's publishing the volumes, so as he finishes them, not the full book. So I don't know if that counts as a novel per se. I don't really know what the criteria is for that, but anyway, on to the House at Pooh Corner. This is the one where Eeyore sells Piglet's house to Owl, and Tigger attacks everyone. And then Rabbit tries to kidnap Tigger and make him disappear, per se, and it doesn't work. And it doesn't work. I'm becoming British. This is a problem. Now, there is an introduction to the house at Pooh Corner. It's called The Contradiction, which I think is hilarious. And since I read the introduction, I might as well read the contradiction. Oh, contradiction, sorry. Now, it's going to say Chapter 11 of Winnie the Pooh, because this is technically Winnie the Pooh, the collection, the complete collection. But I'm going to say the house at Pooh Corner. Introduction. Did I say Winnie the Pooh introduction? Oh, it has to load the page all over again. Come on. Yes, I know. Okay.
Winnie the Pooh by A. Milne.
Scared me.
Introduction.
Okay, so I literally just said, introduction. Okay. The heck is this? What happened to these Cheez-Its were fused together? I love Cheez-Its. If I could make my own donation thing for live streams, I'd do it in Cheez-Its. Because I have a job. I don't need more money. Just give me Cheez-Its. All the flavors. I don't care. Actually, that's wrong. These are the best ones. Some of the spicier ones are good too. Now, you know what? I'm going to try some more Cheez-Its. I'm going to go out and buy some Cheez-Its tomorrow afternoon, and I'm going to rank them. Maybe. I might record it. I might put it on the YouTube channel. We'll find out. Anyway, The House at Pooh Corner by A. Milne. Contradiction. An introduction is to introduce people, but Christopher Robin and his friends who have already been introduced to you are now going to say goodbye. So this is the opposite. When we asked Pooh what the opposite of an introduction was, he said, "The what of a what?" Which didn't help us as much as we had hoped, but luckily Owl kept his head and told us that the opposite of an introduction, my dear Pooh, was a contradiction. And as he is very good at long words, I'm sure that that's what it is. Why we are having a contradiction is because last week when Christopher Robin said to me, "What about the story you were going to tell me about what happened to Pooh when I happened to say very quickly, well, what about 9 times 107? And we had done that one. We had one about cows going through a gate at 2 a minute, and there are 300 in a field, so how many are left after an hour and a half? We find these very exciting. And when we have been excited quite enough, we curl up and go to sleep, and Pooh, sitting wakeful a little longer in his chair by our pillow, thinks grand thoughts to himself about nothing, until he, too, closes his eyes and nods his head and follows us on tiptoe into the forest. There still we have magic adventures, but more wonderful than I have ever told you about. But now, when we wake up in the morning, they are gone before we can catch hold of them. How did the last one begin? One day when Pooh was walking in the forest, there were 107 cows on a gate. No, you see, we've lost it. It was the best, I think. Well, here's some of the other ones, all that we shall remember now. But, of course, it isn't really goodbye, because the forest will always be there, and anyone who's friendly with bears can find it. A. Milne. Chapter 1, in which a house is built at Pooh Corner for Eeyore. One day when Pooh Bear had nothing else to do, he thought he would do something. So he went round to Piglet's house to see what Piglet was doing. It was still snowing as he stumped over the white forest track and expected to find Piglet warming his toes in front of his fire. But to his surprise, he saw that the door was open. And the more he looked inside, the more Piglet wasn't there. "He's out," said Pooh sadly. "That's what it is. He's not in. I shall have to go a fast thinking walk by myself. Bother." But first he thought that he would knock very loudly just to make quite sure. And while he waited for Piglet not to answer, he jumped up and down to keep warm, and a hum came suddenly into his head, which seemed to him a good hum, such as is hummed hopefully to others. "The more it snows, tiddly-pum, the more it goes, tiddly-pum, the more it goes, tiddly-pum, on snowing. And nobody knows, tiddly-pum, how cold my toes, tiddly-pum, how cold my toes, tiddly-pum, are growing." "So what I'll do," said Pooh, "is I'll do this. I'll just go home first and see what the time is, and perhaps I'll put a muffler around my neck, and then I'll go and see Eeyore and sing it to him." He hurried back to his own house, and his mind was so busy on his way with the hum that he was getting ready for Eeyore that, when he suddenly saw Piglet sitting in his best armchair, he could only stand there rubbing his head, wondering whose house he was really in. "Hello, Piglet," he said. "I thought you were out." "No," said Piglet. "It's you who were out, Pooh." "So it was," said Pooh. "I knew one of us was." He looked up at his clock, which had stopped at 5 minutes to 11 some weeks ago. "Nearly 11 o'clock," said Pooh happily. "You're just in time for a little smackerel of something." And he put his head into the cupboard. "And then we'll go out, Piglet, and sing my song to Eeyore." "Which song, Pooh?" "The one we're going to sing to Eeyore," explained Pooh. The clock was still saying 5 minutes to 11 when Pooh and Piglet set out on their way half an hour later. The wind had dropped, and the snow, tired of rushing around in circles, trying to catch itself up, now fluttered gently down to the ground, where it found a place on which to rest. And sometimes the place was Pooh's nose, and sometimes it wasn't. And in a little while, Piglet was wearing a white muffler around his neck, feeling more snowy behind the ears than he had ever felt before in his life. "Pooh," he said at last, and a little timidly, because he didn't want Pooh to think he was giving in. "I was just wondering, how would it be if we went home now and practiced your song, and then sing it to Eeyore tomorrow, or the next day, whenever we happen to see him?" "Oh, that's a very good idea, Piglet," said Pooh. "We'll practice it now as we go along, but it's no use going home to practice it, because it's a special outdoor song, which has to be sung in the snow." "Are you sure?" said Piglet anxiously. "Well, you'll see, Piglet, when you listen, because this is how it begins. The more it snows, tiddly-pum." "Tiddly what?" said Piglet. "Pum," said Pooh. "I put that in to make it more hummy. The more it goes, tiddly-pum, the more—" "Didn't you say snows?" "Yes, but that was before." "Before the tiddly-pum?" "It was a different tiddly-pum," said Pooh, feeling rather muddled now. "I'll sing it to you properly, and then you'll see." So he sang it again. "The more it snows, tiddly-pum, the more it goes, tiddly-pum, the more it goes, tiddly-pum, on snowing. And nobody knows, tiddly-pum, how cold my toes, tiddly-pum, how cold my toes, tiddly-pum, are growing." He sang it like that, which is much the best way of singing it, and when he had finished, he waited for Piglet to say, of all the outdoor hums for snowy weather he had ever heard, this was the best. And after thinking the matter out carefully, Piglet said, "Pooh," he said solemnly, "it isn't the toes so much as the ears." By this time they were getting near Eeyore's gloomy place, which was where he lived. And as it was still very snowy behind Piglet's ears, he was getting very tired of it. They turned into a little pine wood and sat down on the gate which led into it. They were out of the snow now, but it was very cold, and to keep themselves warm, they sang Pooh's song right through 6 times. Piglet doing the tiddly-pums and Pooh doing the rest of it, and both of them thumping on the top of the gate with pieces of stick at the proper places. In a little while they felt much warmer, and were able to talk again. "I've been thinking," said Pooh, "and what I've been thinking is this. I've been thinking about Eeyore." "What about Eeyore?" "Well, poor Eeyore has nowhere to live." "Oh, he has," said Piglet. You have a house, Piglet, and I have a house, and they're very good houses. And Christopher Robin has a house, and Owl and Kanga and Rabbit have houses, and even Rabbit's friends and relations have houses or some things, but poor Eeyore has nothing. So what I've been thinking is this. Let's build him a house.
That, said Piglet, is a grand idea. Where shall we build it?
We will build it here, said Pooh, just by this wood, out of the wind, because this is where I thought of it. We will call this Pooh Corner, and we will build an Eeyore house with sticks at Pooh Corner for Eeyore.
There was a heap of sticks on the other side of the wood, said Piglet. I saw them, lots and lots, all piled up.
Thank you, Piglet, said Pooh. What you have just said will be a great help to us, and because of it, I could call this place Pooh and Piglet Corner, if Pooh Corner did sound better, which it does, being smaller and more like a corner. Come along. So they got down off the gate and went around to the other side of the wood to fetch the sticks. Christopher Robin had spent the morning indoors going to Africa and back, and he had just got off the boat and was wondering what it was like outside, when who should come knocking at the door by Eeyore. Hello, Eeyore, said Christopher Robin as he opened the door and came out. How are you? Snowing still, said Eeyore gloomily. So it is. And freezing. Is it? Yes, said Eeyore. However, he said, brightening up a little, we haven't had an earthquake lately. What's the matter, Eeyore? Nothing, Christopher Robin, nothing important. I suppose you haven't seen a house or whatnot about. What sort of a house? Just a house. Who lives there? I do. At least, I thought I did, but I suppose I don't. After all, we can't all have houses. But Eeyore, I didn't know. I always thought, I don't know how it is, Christopher Robin, but with all this snow and one thing and another, not to mention icicles and such like, it isn't so hot in my field about 3 o'clock in the morning as some people think it is. It isn't close, if you know what I mean. Not so as to be uncomfortable. It isn't stuffy. In fact, Christopher Robin, he went on in a low whisper, quite between ourselves and don't tell anybody. It's cold. Oh, Eeyore. And I said to myself, the others will be sorry if I'm getting myself all cold. They haven't got brains, any of them, only gray fluff that's blown into their heads by mistake. And they don't think. But if it goes on snowing for another 6 weeks or so, one of them will begin to say to himself, Eeyore can't be so very much too hot about 3 o'clock in the morning. And then it will get about, and they'll be sorry. Oh, Eeyore, said Christopher Robin, feeling very sorry already. I don't mean you, Christopher Robin, you're different. So what it all comes to is this. I built myself a house down by my little wood. Did you really? How exciting! The really exciting part, said Eeyore in its most melancholy voice, is that when I left it this morning, it was there. When I came back, it wasn't. Not at all. Very natural. And it was only Eeyore's house. Still, I just wondered. Christopher Robin didn't stop to wonder. He was already back in his house, putting on his waterproof hat, his waterproof boots, and his waterproof Macintosh as fast as he could. We'll go and look for it at once, he called out to Eeyore. Sometimes, said Eeyore, when people have quite finished taking a person's house, there are 1 or 2 bits which they don't want, and are rather glad for the person to take back. If you know what I mean. So, I thought if we just went... Come on, said Christopher Robin, and off they hurried, and in a very little time they got to the corner of the field by the side of the pine wood, where Eeyore's house wasn't any longer. There, said Eeyore. Not a stick of it left. Of course, still got all this snow to do what I like with. Must have complained. But Christopher Robin wasn't listening to Eeyore. He was listening to something else. Can't you hear it? He asked. What is it? Somebody laughing? Listen. They both listened, and they heard a deep, gruff voice singing in a singing voice. The more it snowed, the more it went on snowing, and a small, high voice tiddly-pumming in between. It's Pooh, said Christopher Robin excitedly. Possibly, said Eeyore. And Piglet, said Christopher Robin excitedly. Probably, said Eeyore. What we want is a trained bloodhound. The words of the song changed suddenly. We finished our house, said the gruff voice. Tiddly-pump, sang the squeaky voice. It's a beautiful house. Tiddly-pump. I wish it were mine. Tiddly-pump. Pooh! Shouted Christopher Robin. The singers on the gate stopped suddenly. It's Christopher Robin, said Pooh eagerly. He's round by the place where we got all those sticks from, said Piglet. Come on, said Pooh. They climbed down their gate and hurried round the corner of the wood, Pooh making welcoming noises all the way. Why, here is Eeyore, said Pooh when he had finished hugging Christopher Robin, and he nudged Piglet, and Piglet nudged him, and they thought to themselves what a lovely surprise they had got ready. Hello, Eeyore. Same to you, Pooh Bear, and twice on Thursdays, said Eeyore gloomily. Before Pooh could say, why Thursdays, Christopher Robin began to explain the sad story of Eeyore's lost house. And Pooh and Piglet listened, and their eyes seemed to get bigger and bigger. Where did you say it was? Asked Pooh. Just here, said Eeyore. Made of sticks? Yes. Oh, said Piglet. What? Said Eeyore. I just said oh, said Piglet nervously. And so, as to seem quite at ease, he hummed Tiddly-Pum once or twice in a what shall we do now kind of way. You're sure it was a house? Said Pooh. I mean, you're sure the house was just here? Of course I am, said Eeyore. And he murmured to himself, no brain at all, some of them. Why, what's the matter, Pooh? Asked Christopher Robin. Well, said Pooh. The fact is, said Pooh. Well, the fact is, said Pooh. You see, said Pooh. It's like this, said Pooh. And something seemed to tell him that he wasn't explaining very well, and he nudged Piglet again. It's like this, said Piglet quickly. Only warmer, he said after deep thought. What's warmer? The other side of the wood, where Eeyore's house is. My house, said Eeyore. My house was here. No, said Piglet firmly. The other side of the wood. Because of being warmer, said Pooh. But I ought to know. Come and look, said Piglet simply, and he led the way. There wouldn't be two houses, said Pooh, not so close together. They came round the corner, and there was Eeyore's house, looking as comfy as anything. There you are, said Piglet. Inside as well as outside, said Pooh proudly. Eeyore went inside and came out again. It's a remarkable thing, he said. It is my house, and I built it where I said it did. So the wind must have blew it here, and the wind blew it right over the wood and blew it down here, and here it is as good as ever. In fact, better in some places. Much better, said Pooh and Piglet together. It just shows what can be done by taking a little trouble, said Eeyore. Do you see, Pooh? Do you see, Piglet? Brains first, and then hard work. Look at it. That's the way to build a house, said Eeyore proudly. So they left a minute, and Christopher Robin went back to lunch with his friends Pooh and Piglet, and on the way they told him of the awful mistake they had made. And when he had finished laughing, they all sang the outdoor song for snowy weather the rest of the way home, Piglet, who was not quite sure of his voice, putting in the tiddly-pumps again. And I know it seems easy, said Piglet to himself, but it isn't everyone who could do it. Here ends chapter 11 of The House at Pooh Corner by A.A. Metton. Chapter 11 of Winnie the Pooh. Chapter 1 of The House at Pooh Corner. But also, if we're going by the collected edition, it's chapter 11 of The House at Pooh Corner. Anyway, do we have time? Oh yeah, we have time to squeeze in another one. Next episode. Next chapter is Tigger. All right, let's just save that. I always liked Tigger. Because he's the only Tigger. And as far as I know, I'm the only Carver. So, actually not true. I think at the YMCA, I met a Carver that was like 6 or so, and I was like 13 or so at the time. How old would he be now? So he'd be 9. Wow, so he's still really young. Huh. So there are other Carvers. But I didn't know any Carvers personally. So I was just like, definitely no other. Mm. Love Cheez-Its. That's the back of... I'll publish a book. It will be a story written from the words on the back of every Cheez-Its box. Like every different kind of Cheez-It box. And so I can only use words that are on a Cheez-Its box. And it can only be one box of each of the different kinds. Oh, golly, that would be weird. I don't think a coherent story could be made about that. Not a very long one, at least. Oh, boy. You can kind of tell that the House at Pooh Corner starts out way wittier than any of the chapters in the original Winnie the Pooh. So there's a definite improvement in the dry humor of A.A. Milne. There was some... Winnie the Pooh, Chapter 11. One of the... Okay, published. One of the lines is my favorite. Oh, when they notice Pooh and Piglet coming, and Christopher Robin notices them, and Eeyore's like, it's probably them, but what we want is a trained bloodhound. That's just out of nowhere, and I love it. It just, yes. All of the songs. Okay, so the original audiobook that I listened to as a kid had all of the songs, all the poems that Pooh does as a song. And so he would kind of say it in a melodic way, kind of. The guy who was reading the poems, and then there was like piano in the background, like making they made songs, like actual songs for all of these. I need to figure out how to play those. I should listen to that again. I bet I could figure it out. That'd be another great thing to add on my resume. Oh yes, do you have any extracurricular talents? Yes, I can play the Winnie the Pooh poems that Pooh sings as songs from the original audiobook on the piano. That'll get me into Yale or something. That's all you need, really. I've always wondered what stuff like drama is like in college or something, because there's got to be like crazy complicated performances. Because at that point, people who want to get into acting or voice acting or writing or something like that, they kind of know that they want to do it by the time they get into college. And so, well, maybe, I don't know. And so then all the people that are in the drama and theater like already know. They've already had experience, so I bet it would be amazing. Because some of the plays I've been in, not all of the people have been 100% prepared. Just made this my logo. Like the little thumbnail thing, the little circle thumbnail thing for my channel. What if it was just a Cheez-It? It's just a Cheez-It. No, I could take the microphone in my background, the banner on my channel, and I could like. Oh, the oval part of the microphone could be a Cheez-It, and then I need to do that. Oh, yes. Okay, I'm gonna do that now. You better believe old Carver's gonna make his thumbnail a Cheez-It. The House at Pooh Corner by A.A. Milne. Chapter 12, in which Tigger comes to the forest and has breakfast. Now hold up, I'm gonna start that over again. Because if I say chapter 2 of House at Pooh Corner at the beginning, and then at the end, I say chapter 12 of Winnie the Pooh, then that kind of covers all my bases. So let's do that. The House at Pooh Corner by A.A. Milne. Chapter 2, in which Tigger comes to the forest and has breakfast. Winnie the Pooh woke up suddenly in the middle of the night and listened. Then he got out of bed and lit his candle and stumped across the room to see if anyone was trying to get into his honey cupboard. And they weren't. So he stumped back again, blew out his candle, and got into bed. Then he heard the noise again. "Is that you, Piglet?" he said. But it wasn't. "Come in, Christopher Robin," he said. But Christopher Robin didn't. "Tell me about it tomorrow, Eeyore," said Pooh sleepily. But the noise went on. Said whatever it was. And Pooh found that he wasn't asleep after all. What can it be? He said. There are lots of noises in the forest, but this is a different one. It isn't a growl, and it isn't a purr, and it isn't a bark, and isn't the noise you make before beginning a piece of poetry, but it's a noise of some kind, made by a strange animal, and it's making it outside my door. So I shall get up and ask him not to do it. He got out of bed and opened his front door. Hello, said Pooh, in case there was anything outside. Hello, said whatever it was. Oh, said Pooh. Hello. Hello. Oh, there you are, said Pooh. Hello. Hello, said the strange animal, wondering how long this was going to go on. Pooh was just going to say hello for the fourth time when he thought that he wouldn't, so he said, Who is it? He said. Me, said a voice. Oh, said Pooh. Well, come here. So, whatever it was came here, and then in the light of the candle, he and Pooh looked at each other. I'm Pooh, said Pooh. I'm Tigger, said Tigger. Oh, said Pooh, for he had never seen an animal like this before. Does Christopher Robin know about you? Of course he does, said Tigger. Well, said Pooh, it's the middle of the night, which is a good time for going to sleep. And tomorrow morning we'll have some honey for breakfast. Do Tiggers like honey? They like everything, said Tigger cheerfully. Then if they like going to sleep on the floor, I'll go back to bed, said Pooh, and we'll do things in the morning. Good night. And he got up back in bed and went fast asleep. When he woke in the morning, the first thing he saw was Tigger, sitting in front of the glass and looking at himself. Hello, said Pooh. Hello, said Tigger. I've found somebody just like me. I thought I was the only one of them. Pooh got out of bed and began to explain what a looking-glass was, but just as he was getting to the interesting part, Tigger said, Excuse me a moment, but there's something climbing up your table. And with one loud blah, 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 he jumped at the end of the tablecloth, pulled it to the ground, wrapped himself up in it 3 times, rolled to the other end of the room, and after a terrible struggle, got his head into the daylight again and said cheerfully, Did I win? That's my tablecloth, said Pooh, as he began to unwind Tigger. I wonder what it was, said Tigger. It goes on the table and you put things on. Then why did it try to bite me when I wasn't looking? I don't think it did, said Pooh. It tried, said Tigger, but I was too quick for it. Pooh put the cloth back on the table, and he put a large honey pot on the table, and they sat down to breakfast. As soon as they sat down, Tigger took a large mouthful of honey, and he looked up the ceiling with his head on one side and made exploring noises with his tongue, and considering noises, and what have we got here noises. And then he said in a very decided voice, Tiggers don't like honey. Oh, said Pooh, and tried to make it sound sad and regretful. I thought they liked everything. Everything except honey, said Tigger. Pooh felt rather pleased about this, and said that as soon as he finished his own breakfast, he would take Tigger round to Piglet's house, and Tigger could try some of Piglet's acorns. Thank you, Pooh, said Tigger, because acorns is really what Tiggers like best. So after breakfast, they went round to see Piglet, and Pooh explained as they went that Piglet was a very small animal who didn't like bouncing, and asked Tigger not to be too bouncy just at first. And Tigger, who had been hiding behind trees and jumping out on Pooh's shadow when it wasn't looking, said the Tiggers were only bouncy before breakfast, and that as soon as they had a few acorns, they became quiet and refined. So by and by, they knocked at the door of Piglet's house. Hello, Pooh, said Piglet. Hello, Piglet. This is Tigger. Oh, is it? Said Piglet, and he edged round the other side of the table. I thought Tiggers were smaller than that. Not the big ones, said Tiglet. Tiglet? That's what they called Tigger when he was a kid.
Not the big one.
Okay. In the audiobook, Tigger was voiced by a girl, which always confused me, because Tigger's a guy. And he's, I don't know. Oh, yes. Yes, very whack. All right. Not the big ones, said Tigger. They like acorns, said Pooh, and that's what we've come for, because poor Tigger hasn't had any breakfast yet. Piglet pushed the bowl of acorns towards Tigger and said, "Help yourself," and then got close up to Pooh and felt much braver and said, "So you're Tigger. Well, well," in a careless sort of voice, but Tigger said nothing because his mouth was full of acorns. And after a long munching noise, he said, "Ah, ah, ah." And when Pooh and Piglet said, "What?" he said, "Ah," and went outside for a moment. When he came back, he said firmly, "Tigers don't like acorns." "But you said they liked everything except honey," said Pooh. "Everything except honey and acorns," explained Tigger. When he heard this, Pooh said, "Oh, I see." And Piglet, who was rather glad that Tigers didn't like acorns, said, "What about thistles?" "Thistles," said Tigger, "is what Tigers like best." "Then let's go along and see Eeyore," said Piglet. So the three of them went, and after they had walked and walked and walked, they came to the part of the forest where Eeyore was. "Hello, Eeyore," said Pooh. "This is Tigger." "What is it?" said Eeyore. "This," explained Pooh and Piglet together, and Tigger smiled his happiest smile and said nothing. Eeyore walked all round Tigger one way, and then turned around and walked around him the other way. "What did you say it was?" he asked. "Tigger." "Ah," said Eeyore. "He's just come," explained Piglet. "Ah," said Eeyore again. He thought for a long time, and then said, "When is he going?" Pooh explained to Eeyore that Tiglet was... I did it again! Pooh explained... called him Tiglet. Okay, where does that put me? When is he going? Pooh explained to Eeyore that Tigger was a great friend of Christopher Robin's, who had come to stay in the forest, and Piglet explained to Tigger that he mustn't mind what Eeyore said because he was always gloomy. And Eeyore explained to Piglet that on the contrary he was feeling particularly cheerful this morning, and Tigger explained to anybody who was listening that he hadn't had any breakfast yet. "I knew there was something," said Pooh. "Tigger always eats thistles, so that's why we came to see you, Eeyore." "Don't mention it, Pooh." "Oh, Eeyore, I didn't mean that I didn't want to see you." Quiet, quiet. "But you know, stripy friend. Naturally, he wants his breakfast." "What did you say his name was?" "Tigger." "Then come this way, Tigger." Eeyore led the way to the most thistly-looking patch of thistles that ever was, and waved a hoof at it. "A little patch I was keeping for my birthday," he said. "But after all, what are birthdays? Here today and gone tomorrow. Help yourself, Tigger." Tigger thanked him and looked a little anxiously at Pooh. "Are these really thistles?" "Yes," said Pooh. "What Tiggers like best?" "That's right," said Pooh. "I see," said Tigger. So he took a large mouthful and he gave a large crunch. "Ow!" said Tigger. He sat down and put his paw in his mouth. "What's the matter?" asked Pooh. "Hot!" mumbled Tigger. "Your friend," said Eeyore, "appears to have bitten on a bee." Pooh's friend stopped shaking his head to get the prickles out and explained that Tiggers didn't like thistles. "Then why bend a perfectly good one?" asked Eeyore. "But you said," began Pooh, "you said that Tiggers like everything except honey and acorns." "And thistles," said Tigger, who was now running around in circles with his tongue hanging out. Pooh looked at him sadly. "What are we going to do?" he asked Piglet. Piglet knew the answer to that, and he said at once that they must go and see Christopher Robin. "You'll find him with Kanga," said Eeyore. He came closer to Pooh and he said in a loud whisper, "Could you ask your friend to do his exercises somewhere else? I shall be having lunch directly, and don't want it bounced on just before I begin. A trifling matter, and fussy of me, but we all have our little ways. Pooh nodded solemnly and called to Tigger. Come along, and we'll go and see Kanga. She's sure to have lots of breakfast for you. Tigger finished his last circle and came up to Pooh and Piglet. Hot, he explained with a large and friendly smile. Come on. And he rushed off. Pooh and Piglet walked slowly after him, and as they walked, Piglet said nothing, because he couldn't think of anything. And Pooh said nothing, because he was thinking of a poem. And when he had thought of a poem, he began. What shall we do about poor little Tigger? If he never eats nothing, he'll never get bigger. He doesn't like hay or acorns or thistles, because of the taste and because of the bristles. And all the good things which an animal likes have the wrong sort of swallow, or too many spikes.
He's quite big enough anyhow,
said Piglet. He isn't really very big.
Well, he seems so.
Pooh was thoughtful when he heard this, and then he murmured to himself, but whatever his weight in pounds, shillings, and ounces, he always because of his bounces. And that's the whole poem, he said. Do you like it, Piglet?
All except the shillings,
said Piglet.
I don't think they ought to be there.
They wanted to come in after the pounds, so I let them, explained Pooh. It's the best way to write poetry, letting things come.
Oh, I didn't know,
said Piglet. Tigger had been bouncing in front of them all this time, turning round every now and then to ask, Is this the way? And now at last they came in sight of Kanga's house, and there was Christopher Robin. Tigger rushed up to him. Oh, there you are, Tigger, said Christopher Robin. I knew you'd be somewhere. I've been finding things in the forest, said Tigger importantly. I found a Pooh, and a Piglet, and an Eeyore, but I can't find any breakfast. Pooh and Piglet explained what had been happening. Don't you know what Tigger's like? Asked Pooh. I expect if I thought very hard I should, said Christopher Robin, but I thought Tigger's knew. I do, said Tigger. Everything there is in the world, except honey, and acorns, and what were those hot things called?
Thistles.
Yes, those. Oh, well, Kanga can give you some breakfast. So they went into Kanga's house, and when Roo had said,
Hello, Pooh,
and
Hello, Piglet,
once, and
Hello, Tigger,
twice, because he had never said it before and it sounded funny, they told Kanga what they wanted, and Kanga looked very kindly. Well, look in my cupboard, Tigger dear, and see what you'd like. Because she knew at once that however bigger Tigger must be, he wanted as much kindness as Roo. Shall I look, too? Said Pooh, who was beginning to feel a little 11 o'clockish. He found a small tin of condensed milk, and something seemed to tell him that Tiggers didn't like this, so he took it into a corner by himself and went with it to see that nobody interrupted. But the more Tigger put his nose into this and his paw into that, the more things he found which Tiggers didn't like. And when he had found everything in the cupboard and couldn't eat any of it, he said to Kanga, What happens now? But Kanga and Christopher Robin and Piglet were all standing around Roo, watching him have this extract of malt. And Roo was saying, Must I? And Kanga was saying, Now, Roo dear, you remember what you promised.
What is it?
Whispered Tigger to Piglet.
It's strengthening medicine,
said Piglet.
He hates it.
So Tigger came closer, and he leant back over the back of Roo's chair, and suddenly he put out his tongue and took one large gulp. And with a sudden jump of surprise, Kanga said, Oh! And then clutched at the spoon just as it was disappearing, and pulled it safely out of Tigger's mouth. But the extract of malt was gone. Tigger dear, said Kanga.
He's taking my medicine, he's taking my medicine, he's taking my medicine,
sang Roo happily, thinking it was a tremendous joke. When Tigger looked up at the ceiling and closed his eyes, and his tongue went round and round his chops in case he had left any outside, and a peaceful smile came over him, as he said, So that's what Tigger's like. Which explains why he always lived at Kanga's house afterwards and had extract of malt for breakfast, dinner, and tea. And sometimes, when Kanga thought he needed strengthening, he had a spoonful or two of Roo's breakfast after meals as medicine.
But I think,
said Piglet to Pooh,
that he's been strengthened quite enough.
Here ends Chapter 12 of Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne. Yay. Okay. Oh! Chapter 12. Oh, we have 3 people now. That's a record for today. Must be a slow day. It's not a holiday, is it? Oh, now it's 2 people again. All right, so it's almost. I don't think I can get another episode, or why do I keep saying episode? I don't think I can get another chapter done in the time we have left. So I think I'm going to end the stream off at 2 hours. But we got done a fair amount. 4 chapters. That's about what we've averaged the last couple times. The last couple times being the last 2 times. So I will. In my file folder, it doesn't. It doesn't arrange them by the order they're in. It arranges them alphabetically. So it goes chapter 8, chapter 11, chapter 5, chapter 4, chapter 9, chapter 7, chapter 6, chapter 10, chapter 3, chapter 12, chapter 2, and intro in chapter 1. As everyone knows, okay. I need to figure out how to add a little box that you can scroll through, and it has all of the chapters of that one book. Because I assume nobody wants to just scroll through all of the chapters, especially when I start doing longer books like, say, Les Mis, or maybe War and Peace. I don't know. I might not do War and Peace just because it's not necessarily, at least not to my knowledge, a fiction book. In my experience, nonfiction is not very interesting to read out loud. Oh no. Winnie the Pooh, chapter 132. I'm just gonna go to bed. All right. I'm now published. So that was 4 chapters, and that was 2 hours. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Next time, if we do the next 4 chapters, we will get to chapter 16, which means we only have 2 more next week and the week after, and then we've finished all of Winnie the Pooh, all 20 chapters. So I think that's reason to celebrate, and what better to celebrate than with a tier list of or me ranking the stories. And I will post that on Instagram too, because that seems to work. That seems to get people here. So I think I'll do that, and I'll figure out how to screen share, and everything will be awesome. Oh man, this gives me anxiety whenever it's just like, oh, okay, there we go. Okay, it was like, do you want to save the changes you made? I'm like, I just did save. Don't do this to me. All right, well, thank you all so much for being here, and I will see you guys next week. Goodbye.